At the 2019 Geneva Motor Show, Aston Martin has unveiled not one, but two brand new mid-engine supercars. This, the Vanquish Vision concept, and the car we're going to talk about in this video, the 003, son of Valkyrie. To talk us through the car, we have Miles Nurnberger, Aston Martin's Director of Design. It's a long way down, isn't it?
It is a long way down, yes.
No, you're very careful. It's not. There we go. Wow. This is quite something, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a spaceship inside.
It's, well, spaceships, it's a good description in so many ways because there's actually a lot of space in here. It's much more roomy and airy than I'd ever expected.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a very small cabin. We started, when we did the package, we started with Valkyrie and we added, say, 100 mil between the occupants. There is more space around your head, but actually we've carved out the space, understanding how we can pack the learning of the packaging of Valkyrie. So although the cabin is quite tight from the outside, you feel spacious inside.
And we've obviously got all sorts of materials going on here. This is 3D printed carbon?
Yep, 3D printed carbon, and also the air vents that run around the base of the A-post and into the door. Yes,
now talk me through this because it's...
So it's all part of a design philosophy that sort of started with Valkyrie, but it's about apex ergonomics, perfect ergonomics, and it's about your alignment to the steering wheel, but it's also about the peripheral things, so reducing them. So air vents are an interesting thing, aren't they? They're sort of like radiators in old houses, but actually what you really want is underfloor heating, and it's sort of trying to take that away, put it in the background, still make a beautiful feature out of it, but actually it's moving out of your eye line and more discreet. The emphasis is here, and obviously the view out in front of you.
Absolutely. And talking of the view out in front of me, so A-pillar's quite a long way sort of forward, but actually you get this amazing sort of widescreen view around, and I've got a really good view of both the tops of those front arches as well.
Yeah, so big amount of work on that and understanding what you do. Traditionally what you do is you'd move the A-post far wider so that you see the what are nicknamed Becker points in Aston Martin after Matt Becker. Becker points on the tops of the arches. The only thing with that is your frontal area grows because the cabin's just got to be bigger to be able to see that. So we played around a lot, basically looking at the base of that A-post to sort of, particularly from where you are now, that
is right in the middle of
right in the middle. And you still read the mass of the wheel arch either side, and your brain fills in the gap. So what you actually get is you feel like you've got a windscreen this wide when in fact you've got this cockpit frontal area.
Absolutely. And just to come back to some of the materials as well, because this seat it's worth saying, this seat is fixed here, and then the pedal box and the steering wheel would move towards me, and my feet are still quite an F1 car sort of position. My feet feel like they're are they above the H point?
Yes, so they're above your hip point. Your heel point is above your hip point. It's nowhere near the feet on the bathtub taps that you get in Valkyrie, but it is still, it's that, and it's partly to do with aero. So we're trying to get the feet up high to get the air passing through and under and out the side of the car through there. But yeah, it's quite unusual still. It's dialed down, but it's more than you'd have in a normal mid-engine car, if there is such a thing.
Absolutely. And we've got obviously some leather, and then what this material is down here.
Yeah, so a real mix of materials. So you've got some very high-tech ballistic nylon materials through here.
Ballistic nylon.
And then leather and printed carbon, and I'll call it traditional carbon, although a high-tech material. So we're looking to create a modern craft for the car. If it was just, I mean, you can't imagine sitting in this car with leather and walnut, could you? So
no.
It's bringing that story and bringing it forward with lightweight materials, but having that touch point, craft points.
Absolutely.
I
am now trying to obviously imagine what this would be like with leather and walnut. But we won't go down there. Just as I look around here, I can't see out the back there.
No.
So this is...
So we're investing a lot with the technology. So we have cameras on the outside, to the side of the car and to the rear of the car. And basically this is a hybrid mirror. So you will constantly have an image that's far, far better than if you just had a traditional rear view mirror in the car. And you can actually alternate. So you can use, if you indicate, it will actually bring up an image from the side, or it will exaggerate an image from the side. So there's various configurations you can have. What you find is you get far better visibility out of cameras now than you could out of the traditional architecture.
We have seen them on Audi e-tron now. We've seen them on a car that's actually reached production. So it obviously is going to work. There's a phone here.
There is, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're being provocative here in and again lightweighting and how you might use. So this is a test bed for us, this car, as well, about how technology we're going to use it in cars. So with the way you use your phone in your car today, your phone is the hub more than the car. Yeah. So this is sort of being provocative to say, actually, do we need, and we're looking for feedback on this. We're into a dialogue with the customer. Could you live with actually your phone rather than an integrated sat nav? Is that
makes sense.
Is it relevant any longer?
Absolutely. And then this steering wheel looks wonderful. Not very round, I'll point that out, but quite complicated here as well. What's going on here?
So yeah, I mean, we are putting far more controls. We're trying to minimise everything else here. Put the controls. We have RTDs, reconfigurable touch displays through here, and through here. We're looking to integrate some health functions, so we might be able to monitor your heart rate, etc., through the steering wheel and actually display it on here.
So it's like a big Fitbit.
It's like a very fast Fitbit. Yes.
Excellent.
Yes. But we're looking at those reconfigurable displays. We don't want necessarily in a car like this big displays, but we want something that you can use. So you might pick a function and then you have a sub option that appears. So it's only when you need it. And we're doing a lot of research into that, because we've gone in the industry from very manual controls to, you go to an extreme like Tesla and you've got a TV in your car, practically, and actually it's focusing in what's the product, what do I want from it. So there's a big amount of research at Aston Martin at the moment on that.
And I think it's worth saying as well that sort of in a car that's this fast, I don't know how fast it's going to be, but I can guarantee it's going to be very, very fast. Actually, for the sort of people, I'm sure some F1 drivers perhaps will buy them, but a lot of people will not be F1 drivers and will not have the mental capacity to be able to, in the nicest possible way. I wouldn't if I was driving this very quickly. I don't think I would want to be distracted by lots of buttons to have to do. So it's nice to keep it uncluttered, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. Should we go and have a look at the outside?
Yeah, let's do it.
Excellent.
Careful with that door.
Yes. I love the fact you can see all the way down through to the front suspension there. It really becomes so obvious, isn't it? And you look in here and you see the cameras. Let's get into some of the aero features. I mean, NAC duct here, that's for the HVAC in there, is that right?
Ventilation through there, HVAC through there. Side vents are actually feeding, they run through the door, feed into the engine. It's actually running air through the centre of the car, through that.
Wow! So to keep presumably airflow high, so you can
to keep everything neat and tidy. Actually, taking the air there is actually quite clean to actually take through the car. So you don't need such a big cross-sectional area to feed the engine.
Wow! And then down at the front, we've got the sort of the face we're getting now of we've seen on Valkyrie and on Vanquish. Vision concepts as well. These lights, we've got to talk about those.
Yeah, so very much derived directly from Valkyrie. This car is world homologated, so they have to evolve a bit, but they are very, very lightweight. So they'll probably come in a little bit heavier than Valkyrie because of some of those constraints, but a set of lamps of this car, a whole set is about the same weight as one lamp on a normal Aston. So huge weight saving. On Valkyrie, we in fact use 3D printed carbon parts in the headlamp. I mean, every time it's saving grams, but it all adds up in the way you do it. So we expose all the engineering of the lamp. So most of that in a normal car gets hidden. And basically we decided make beautiful engineering, expose it, it's like the F1 suspension. You know, you take the cover off the front of an F1 car and you look in there, you think, wow, it's actually super technical, isn't it? But there's a beauty in that precision, and
Absolutely.
we're trying to get it back into our headlamps like that, and it makes it super lightweight as well.
Absolutely. One of the things, I read Adrian Newey's book on how to build a race car. I can't say I understood all of it, but I did understand some of the or at least recognise things like this down here, which you obviously you see on modern F1 cars. I've noticed it further up on the floor there, which is creating vortices.
Creating vortices, and usually is about managing wake around the front tyre, which
so
10 years ago in road cars, 5 years ago in road cars, no one was looking at. And even in F1 10 years ago, it wasn't really a thing. But that generation of vortexes to guide and create a path for the air to follow underneath the car and manage it is now a big thing on road cars.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about the areas, should we move further around the car? We'll put the doors down so we can do it very, very gently, aware that there aren't hundreds of these hanging around out here. So the other thing that we should talk about on this car in terms of the aero is the flex foil technology. What is that?
So basically we're creating a morphing aero surface, so the carbon fibre on the back can actually bend, reprofile itself to either create more downforce, or, I mean, the other thing is you tend to get to a point where actually you're generating too much downforce today, so it actually backs it off so that you get the right Vmax and you don't overload the tyres. So that is actually reconfigurable. We have a system running on this which is sort of a proof of concept, which only moves a small amount. The final one will move 3-4 times the amount and will actuate far faster. So we're doing that on the rear of the car, and we're also looking on the front wing area that we were looking earlier. We haven't decided exactly what. We're looking at various concepts, either within the wing flaps or to actually elongate the whole wing system forward on the car.
Wow, excellent. And you mentioned as well sort of that you looked at, or you're not sure if it's going to include it, but sort of potential sort of almost cooling openings could open up and then close.
Once you go into that technology, you're sort of like, what else can I do with it? So it was like, actually there's cooling requirements, but actually what happens basically is you say maximum cooling requirements, and you just got to plonk that on the car, and you sort of think, well, I can be more intelligent than that. I can open the cooling when I need to, and I keep the car more efficient, more aero efficient when it doesn't need the cooling. So we were looking at some of the openings and air vents also doing that. I think we've moved away from that slightly, but it's something you may see in the future from Aston.
Yeah. We should talk about what's under here, or going to be under here as well. So we've got a turbocharged V6 engine with hybrid technology, and
which drives the rear wheels, and we have a P4 electric motor driving the front wheels. So we have 4-wheel drive on this car.
Wow. So it's quite I think one of the things that when this is obviously called Son of Valkyrie, and Valkyrie is such a halo project that everyone's obviously incredibly excited about, and all the technology going into that, there's a risk that with this it's seen as sort of the poor relation somehow. But I think having that heart, which ironically there's a certain other company that's producing a hypercar that might have a turbocharged V6 with various hybrid sort of parts, and it's sort of there's sort of an element of almost trolling the fact that your lesser car has that sort of engine in it.
It is. I mean, Valkyrie had the V12 because there's a certain price point and the ability to make the engine we have in that. When this engine, this engine is going to go across a number of cars, and as such we had to design an engine that would work around the world in larger numbers and meet all our criteria that we have to as a manufacturer.
Has there been a sort of, to get some idea of where this sits, if Valkyrie is up there sort of redefining everything, is this sort of, do we have numbers of how many might be produced or anything like that?
So 500 coupes will be produced of the car.
Coupes?
Yeah.
I should leave it at that.
And approximate price is around $1 million. Probably just slightly under, depends where you are in the world and taxes.
Okay, so that puts it in a ballpark with other cars that people might sort of understand.
And in terms of performance, I mean, you're in the world of P1, LaFerrari, Senna, but next generation. So we aim to be, obviously with Valkyrie, and we're coming down, but we aim to be the best of that generation of £1 million supercars.
Absolutely. And it's worth saying as well that this is being very much developed, again, sort of with Red Bull in terms of it will be in the sim a lot before it goes out on.
Dynamically, aerodynamically. We've in fact opened a design studio that's actually based in Red Bull's F1 campus. So this car and the Vision concept car we talked about earlier, they are both being developed there. So there is a strong bloodline of work going on there.
Absolutely. Carbon body, carbon chassis, obviously, and we've got to look at them. It's enormous. I mean, I know Valkyrie,
diffuser tunnels.
There's something even more extraordinary somehow about sort of, because you can't call it a more normal looking car, can you? But to get around the back and just see these, I mean, I'd go and sleep in there. Curl up. It's sort of
on Valkyrie. I used to tease Adrian that's where the boot of the car was. You know, it was there's so much space through the tunnels. The trouser legs, they were sometimes called, through the car, buried around the car. So yes, again, I mean, pushing very hard in terms of the way, and you know, it's fascinating working with Adrian. My view when I've seen it is he basically gives all the guys around him too little space. Aero's king. You give them too little space, they have to go and beg for every millimetre. And you'll see with Valkyrie, there's not an inch left over. There's nothing. And it's the same with this. We take the same philosophy into that. It is everything, you know, tailored in Aston Martin terms, tailored around the gearbox to basically maximise the size of diffuser you can get on the car.
Absolutely. It's worth saying as well, 003, because it's the third one, isn't it? Of course, we've got
so
Valkyrie AMR, and then this.
So,
and I'm sure at some point it will probably get a name. Place your bets now. It'll probably begin with V, I imagine.
I think so, but what V I don't know yet.
I'll go for Valiant. I'm going straight down to the bookies now.
Okay.
I'm going to put a $5 on them.
Yeah, I kept people emailing me saying, "Oh, I hear the name's this," and I'm like, "Oh."
Excellent. There we go. Miles, thank you very much indeed.
No problem. Thank you.